Who among you here would like to get paid to speak, to be invited to speak, without you having to push yourself to them? All right, so this is the power of writing book, because once you write a book, you actually draw people close to you. You don't have to push yourself, they come to you. You build and they will come. You write and they will come. So this is a topic that is very close to my heart because I've been writing books since 2008, but I only published my first book in 2011. And for coming to my masterclass, I have free gifts for you. So every one of you will get free copies of these ebooks, How to Make Your Dreams Come True, with a blurb by Brian Tracy. So is anyone familiar with Brian Tracy? Of course, right? Wait. And Brian Tracy wrote a blurb for it. I also wrote an ebook called Why You Need to Write a Book. So at the end of this talk, I believe that every one of you should really, really write your own book. And of course, if you have any questions about book writing, maybe you started writing a book, but then you have questions, I wrote an ebook called Ready, Set, Write, wherein I answered 10 of the most burning questions when it comes to writing a book. So before we start, can I invite everyone to please stand up and just move around? Just meet one person you haven't met before and share with him or her the title of the book you're planning to write. Hello. Can we increase? Hello? Can we increase the mic volume? Mic volume, thank you. And put some bass. Thank you. Yeah. For the picture, you can also come forward and then take pictures there. Thanks so much. I read this from Paul Terwal. So you know him? He is the president-elect of the Global Speakers Federation. So he's cheering us on. And that really resonated with me because it means that even if he is the president of the Global Speakers Federation, he cares about the members of the organization. So if you become a member of PSAI, you can get this global community. All right? So I came from the Philippines, from Manila, and then I traveled to Singapore for 4 hours, had a 5-hour layover to catch my connecting flight to Chennai, another 3 hours. So all in all, I spent about 12 to 14 hours in the plane and in the airports just to be here with you guys. So I'm really, really happy to be here, and I hope this will be worth each and everyone's time. You're most welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So my journey as an author was more of a serendipity. I didn't wake up one day and say, someday I'd like to become an author. What happened was I was an employee for 9 years. I was an employee of the bank. And in my first year as an employee, I got buried in credit card debts. So at that time, I was sick and tired of my job. I wanted to quit my job, but I couldn't because number one, I had no savings. I had debts. And number two, I asked myself, if I will resign, what will I do? Where will I go? I didn't know the answer. In other words, I suffered what you call the quarter life crisis. So that was the first time that I got really interested in reading books, in studying, in learning. I realized that back then I studied to get good grades, to pass the subjects, etc., to graduate, but that was the first time that I really had interest in learning. So I read books on money, I attended seminars on money. Finally, after 3 years, I was able to zero out my debts. I was able to save and invest. And I realized that a lot of young professionals, millennials like me, were also in the same boat. When they have money, they just swipe their cards or they just spend on gadgets or FOMO, hashtag YOLO, etc. They travel, etc. So I could already clearly see the kind of future they can have, which is most likely to retire old and broke. So here I was, I learned so much about financial literacy, and I wanted to share the message to as many people as possible. So I started amongst my friends. Every time we'll have colloquial conversations, I would tell them, "Hey, do you know what? You need to manage your money, save money, zero out credit card debts, etc., etc." But I realized that money is such a sensitive issue. My friends would shy away from the conversation. They didn't like me or us to talk about money. And there I was, I had a burning message that I'd love to share, but no one wanted to listen to me. In one of the seminars that I attended, the idea of writing a book came to mind. So it was a whole day seminar, and the speaker said, if you want to spread a message and make some money, you write a book, you record an album, and blah, 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 blah. But all I was hearing was write a book, write a book, write a book. And I felt so uncomfortable. I had so many hesitations why I didn't want to write a book. I felt I was too young to write a book. I didn't know anyone from the publishing industry. No one knew me. I had no budget for writing a book. I didn't know where to start. I had all these questions. Okay, if I write a book, how do I start? And in the first place, I don't like to write because I'm not a writer. I was not a writer. But then the passion to share that message was so strong. It inspired me to write a book, and fast forward to today, these are the books I've written so far. So I've written about 12 books, and I brought one of them here, so maybe I'll raffle off one book later. And now I'd like to share with you the blessings or the benefits I got when I wrote my book. Blessing number one was that my passion became my profession. My passion became my profession. I'm so passionate about writing now that I don't consider it work at all. Everything I do is play for me. Everything I do, my work, is much more fun than eating my favorite ice cream, than eating chocolates, than watching the best movies. Everything I do is fun. And the best part is I get paid. And that's a big, big bonus. That's a nice bonus, right? Okay, so my passion is my profession, and I could say that the world is my office. So I can go anywhere to write, and that is actually my work, but since I don't consider it work at all, I have so much fun. Because when you love what you're doing, there is a very thin line between work and play. Work is play, and play is work. Okay, and just a show of hands, who among you here are already doing what you love to do? Your passion is your profession. Wow, good job. All right. So, blessing number two or benefit number two was that when you write a book, you touch lives. I have received so many emails from people who read my books or Instagram tags from people who read my books and they said they were so inspired, etc., etc. But one thing really, I could really remember that one thing that touched my heart at the very core. This person was, the boyfriend broke up with her, and then she had messy finances, she just lost her job, and she was in such a difficult situation that she actually meditated on ending her life. And then she said, she read my book, Money and Me, which is about money, and she wrote to me and said she was so inspired to live again. She was so inspired because she realized that there are so many ways that she can still do with life. So that blessing, when you write a book, you don't know who you're going to touch. Writing a book is like talking to thousands of people one at a time. And even if you're sleeping, you're talking to someone. And that's also a great way to leave a legacy. Okay. Next is that writing a book enables you to meet people. So I attended the Toastmasters International Convention. Who among you here are Toastmasters? Wow, all right. So I attended the Toastmasters International Convention in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This was the first time the convention was held in Asia because for the past 90, 80 years it was held in America. It's a public speaking organization. So the art of public speaking, the art and leadership of public speaking. So the Professional Speakers Organization is the business of public speaking. So I attended this Toastmasters convention, and the main speaker was Robin Seeger. So this is the guy, and he was addressing 3,000 people, public speakers from 126 countries all over the world. So probably I was seated somewhere here. And he said something that really caught my attention. The most important role of a speaker is to love the audience. So when he said that, I told myself, I want him to become my mentor. Robin Singer, the most important role of a speaker is to love the audience. By the way, sorry about my slides. I prepared my slides in Mac, and it automatically converted in MS in Windows. Yeah. So at the end of his talk, there was a long line of people wanting to get his autographs. I also lined up. I bought a copy of his book, and I also brought my book, Money and Me. So I lined up, and then I told him, "Hi, Robin, this is Sha from the Philippines. Can you sign this book?" And then he signed the book, and then I gave him a copy of my book, Money and Me. So it's like we exchanged books. The only problem was that he got mine for free, and I paid for his book. But that's okay. But that's okay, okay? So imagine, how can you be noticed by someone? There were 3,000 people. How can you be noticed by the top keynote speaker in that event, right? So I just gave him a copy of my book. A few weeks later, I was back in Manila, and I received an email from no less than Robin Seeger. He said, "Sha, I read your book. I wished I read it when I was much younger." And then he said, "I'm coming over to the Philippines, to Manila, on this particular date. If you have any seminars, I'm willing to speak in your seminar pro bono." Now, just to give you an idea how big a speaker Robin Seeger is, he's as big as Frederick Harlan, James Taylor, etc. He charges thousands of dollars for a 45-minute keynote, and he travels about 200 times a year. So I replied to him and I asked, "Are you available on this particular Saturday?" And he replied, "Yes." And then I replied, he asked me if I had a seminar where he can speak pro bono, right? I replied, "Yes, Robin, we have a seminar for you." The truth was there was no seminar yet. So I organized the seminar, and I called it the Courage Conference, with him, of course, as a speaker, and with me as a fellow speaker. And I named it the Courage Conference because I needed to have the courage to share the stage with him. All right, so so he came over to the Philippines. I also interviewed him. And did you just notice what happened there? I could have paid him 10,000, 15,000 US dollars, but a single book sealed the deal. Without me having to plead, "Robin, can you come to the Philippines, give this seminar?" A single book sealed the deal. Okay, so you don't know the power a book can do. The fourth benefit of writing a book is that you can get media mileage. I've been interviewed so many times on radio, TV, etc., magazines, etc., online publications in the Philippines, and the only reason was because I wrote a book. If you have a business and you go to a big TV station and you'd say, "Can I be a guest speaker, or can I promote my business?" They would say, "Sure," and they'll send you the proposal. Right? You have to pay. But once you become an author, you're actually a resource to them, a resource for them, and so they'd gladly have you. So this was at ANC on the Money, ABS-CBN. This is probably one of the top 2 biggest TV stations in the Philippines. And I got free promotion. So we talked about my book. It's all about my book for the next 10 minutes. And of course, the best part is that you'll get speaking engagements. So once you write a book, you'll get speaking engagements. I remembered when I first published my first book, the organizer of this big event, it was an event wherein the speakers were CEOs, VPs, executives, etc., and really professional speakers. When the event organizer heard that I published a book, he didn't even see the book. I didn't even print the book. He already invited me to speak in his event. So there were 400 people, 400 professionals in the audience, and I was put to the level of the CEOs, VPs, millionaires, billionaires, etc., only because I had a book and I was the youngest speaker in that event. So that's the power of writing a book. All right? And so now I get speaking invitations. By the way, just a caveat. I've been speaking professionally since 2014, and I've never marketed myself as a speaker. All my speaking engagements were people who would inquire, Sha, can we invite you? And then if I would ask them, how did you hear about me? About 80% of them would say, I read your book, or this colleague of mine read your book and attended your seminar, and she referred you to me. But now that I listened to James Taylor yesterday, I'll do more marketing this year. But what am I saying? If you are busy, maybe you still have other things to do, and you want to speak professionally on the side, and you don't have time to market, once you have the book can do the marketing for you. And I'll teach you how you can use your book to market yourself as a speaker. And you'll come off in an authentic way, in a way that will build trust with the people you want to serve as a speaker. So speak engagements, and then this was another company who invited me to speak. So these are the audiences I addressed. And one of my most memorable experiences as a speaker was when I got invited to speak in Malacanang at the office of the President of the Philippines. And again, thank you. And again, the only reason why I got invited was because I wrote a book. And I didn't reach out to them, hey, can you invite me? Someone who was a staff in that particular department read my book, recommended me to her boss, and then the boss recommended me to another boss, and they liked it, and so they invited me. But of course, you also have to support it with online presence. So you have videos on YouTube, etc. And now in the Philippines, this is the biggest bookstore in the Philippines, National Bookstores. I have books there. And in the Philippines, when they say, oh, you have books in National Bookstore, it means that, wow, you're an established author. I'm actually a self-published author. So I'm self-published, but I was able to put my books in these big bookstores. Of course, there are secrets on how to do that. And then, now, I can write a book in 90 days. I can write a book in one month. I can write a book in 1 week. Because mind you, once you learn the art of writing a book, you can write any book. For example, if you mastered it, you can write it in 1 month, you can write it in 2 weeks, you can write it in 1 week. So when I attended the APSS convention, Asia Professional Speakers Convention in Singapore last year, I told myself, okay, I want to write a book and launch it in 2 weeks. Okay, I didn't write a single word. And so I told my team, okay, team, let's launch a book in 2 weeks. My marketing manager said, Sha, that's too early. Can you give us 1 month? Okay, let's do it 1 month. And then, since I love math, I love formula, I studied how do you make a book a #1 bestseller on Amazon. There has to be a technique. There has to be a formula. I studied how. I made some computations, and I said, okay, we can make this a bestseller. And it's guaranteed it will be a bestseller. So I promoted this book on Amazon. There's a way to do it. That is, you give it away for free for a couple of days, and then it becomes a bestseller. So I promoted this for a couple of days. And on the first 2 hours that it was released, it became a bestseller in 7 or 8 categories, one of which is public speaking. So this is not yet updated. I posted the wrong slide. But anyway, as you can see, this is Dale Carnegie. And then because of that, someone from BNI downloaded my book, read my book. She didn't know me prior to reading the book, but she read my book, and then she Googled me, and then she watched some of my videos, and then she recommended me to the organizer of the BNI conference. Is anyone familiar with BNI? All right, great. So BNI is an international organization, and in the Philippines, there is a chapter. So during the conference in BNI, normally, they would invite international speakers who would fly into Manila. And at that particular conference, I was the only Filipino who spoke at the conference. And the only reason why I spoke in that conference was because the organizer read my book, and then she nominated me to the higher ups, and then they read up on me, and then they approved. So again, the power of books to get speaking engagement. I didn't go to them and say, hey, can you get me as a speaker? They came up to me and said, can we get you as a speaker? All right? About 80% of my speaking engagements are leads from my books. 80%. So if you don't have a book yet, and you would like to grow your speaking business, one of the best ways to do that is to write books. Write a book on the topic you want to speak about. Okay? So these are some of our clients in 2018. Some big companies like HSBC, Manulife, etc. All of them invited me just because I wrote a book or I wrote books. They saw my book. A colleague who read my book recommended me to them. All right? So can you see now the importance of writing a book?
Yes.
All right. And mind you, writing a book is very simple. Who among you can write a sentence that can be understood by another person? Okay, good. It means that if you can write a sentence, then you can write a book. Why is that? Because a series of sentences make up one paragraph, a series of paragraphs make up one chapter, and a series of chapters make up one book. Very simple, right? Whoever said that writing a book is so difficult? It's very simple once you learn the technique. So the question now is, how can you put together all these sentences to make up a book? So there is a systematic way of doing that. I wrote my first book in 3 years because I had no idea how to write a book. It was a trial and error method. But that's when I devised a formula. I checked out what worked, what didn't work, and what are the steps that I should do. What are the steps that I need to rearrange for me to be able to write a book? Okay? So later on, at the second part of my talk, I'll share with you the exact formula I use for writing a book. Are you excited? All right. So, your book is your calling card. Your book will make you stand out. And let me prove that to you. So, during the Toastmasters International Convention in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, there were, imagine, 3,000 people from 126 countries all over the world. And people were giving out their calling cards, right? And I was very strategic on the people I want to give my books to. So these are the people, I want that person, I want that person, I want that person, I want that person. So there's this guy, his name's Mark Brown. He was a world champion of public speaking, and he's really nice. He has this loud voice, and he's really a nice guy. So I bumped into him, and I said, "Hi, Mark, this is Sha from the Philippines. Can I give you a copy of my book?" And then quick photo, and then I left. Because, you know, the technique during conference is that you don't have to keep the person, you don't have to talk to that person for very long, because a lot of people would also want to talk to that person. Okay, you don't want to lock him. Okay, that's also a way of being cautious for his or her time. So so our meeting was maybe about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then that's it. Day two, I was at the lobby, and I bumped into Mark again. And then I said, "Hi, Mark, this is Sha again from the Philippines." And I said, "Of course, I remember you. You were the one who gave me a book yesterday. Everyone else gave me a calling card, and you were the only one who gave me a copy of your book." So this is Mark and me, Mark Brown and me. And that's the power of writing books. When everyone else is giving out their calling cards, why not give a copy of your book? And especially if your crowd, if the people you're planning to speak to is, let's say, HR professionals or the people who hire speakers, give your books to them. Okay? And come to think of it, who are the celebrity speakers that we know of? The world celebrity speakers. Brian Tracy, right? Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield, he went to India for a couple of days. I'm meeting Jack Canfield on March. I'll go to Miami, Florida to join his cruise. I'm actually a Jack Canfield certified trainer. So, Jack Canfield, the best-selling author of the book Success Principles, and of course, the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And that really catapulted his career as a speaker. So he's considered a celebrity speaker. Some speakers are considered as content speakers. They hire you based on your content. Some people hire you because you are you. Okay, whatever topic you speak on, because you are you, you're a celebrity, they would want you. And then Tony Robbins, of course, he has books, right? So when you have a book, you can actually position yourself in the market. If there's a particular topic that you would like to speak on, why don't you write a book on that topic and own that particular estate? Okay? So, we don't have to go far. One of them is Ron Kaufman. When it comes to customer service, he is the number one in the world. And his book is about uplifting your service, uplifting service. So writing a book is really beneficial if you would like to position yourself as an author. And now I'm about to share with you the secrets on how you can write your book in 90 days, even if you're not a writer, and even if you're busy in your job or business. Okay. According to my mentor, Bo Sanchez, success is achieving your dreams. Significance is helping other people achieve their dreams. So I've achieved my dream of becoming an author, and now what I wanted to do was to teach as many people as I can how to write their own books as well. I attended the best-selling authors boot camp of Bo Sanchez. By the way, Bo Sanchez is probably the highest paid and the most sought-after speaker in the Philippines. He is my mentor, and he invited me to speak in his boot camp. At the end of the boot camp, he told the participants, write the title of the book you wanted to write. Okay, at the end of day 4, he told the participants. And what I wrote that time was the complete online course on book writing and book publishing by Bo Sanchez and Sha Nacino. So I showed it to him and said, oh, Bo, look. And then he said, go for it, Sha. So I said, okay, maybe he just said that to encourage me. Maybe he didn't really mean it. And then a couple of days later, so I was back in Manila, back to work, because I was still an employee then. And I started writing the modules for the book writing. And I figured it was so challenging to write the modules. Because how can you teach someone how to write a book in a very simple way that that person doesn't get overwhelmed, right? So I said, okay, forget it. It's too hard. I don't want to do it. A couple of weeks later, I received an email from my mentor, and he said, Sha, how's the book writing course that you're putting up? And I said, oh my God, how could he remember and how could I forget? and then I had some alibis. I said something came up, blah, 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 blah. After a couple of weeks, he asked me again, how's the book writing course you're putting up? And I had alibis again. And then we bumped into each other again in one of his live events. And he asked me again, how's the book writing course that you're putting up? And that's when it dawned on me, okay, I'll have to work on it because I've given my word. So I worked on it, and it took me 2 years to create the modules. 2 long years. And in those 2 years, I would email him the draft. He would comment, I would tweak. I would email him back. He would comment, I would tweak. Until finally he said, that's good to go. Okay to launch it, okay to proceed. My only comment is that your price is too low. So I just increased my price. And then on January 2015, I launched the 90-day book writing challenge on January 2015. And my very bold claim was that I can teach you how you can write a book in 90 days, even if you're not a writer, and even if you're busy in your job or business. Yes, sir.
Did you write that book in 90 days?
My first book I wrote in 3 years, but
This one, when you co-authored.
no. Some books I wrote in 30 days. Some books I wrote in 7 days. Some books I wrote in 1 day when I learned the formula already. So 90 days because, I was just being modest, especially if it's your first time to write a book. Me, I can write a book in 1 day. I can write a book in 5 days if I want to, if I decide to sit down. But for people, and it's their first time to write a book, 90 days is a good time. Okay, so you don't get overwhelmed. If I tell you to write a book in 1 week, you'll get overwhelmed, right? But once you master this technique, you can write a book in 2 weeks. You can write a book in 5 days. You can write it in 7 days. It's up to you. Okay, so January 2015, we launched the 90-day book writing challenge online course. It's purely online. And then at the end of the 90 days, there is a book launch. So I organized book launch for the graduates of the 90-day book writing challenge. All right? So imagine January 2015, we launched this. June 2015, we had book launch 1.0. So people who enrolled in the course were actually so surprised because they were able to write their books in 90 days, some even less. And then we launched our books on June 2015. And so that's book launch 1.0. These are the attendees. We had about 160, 170 people who attended their book launch. So these are the people who never spoke in a group of these big people. And just because they wrote a book, we gave them a platform where they can share their book to these people. Okay? July 2016, we had book launch 2.0. Okay, so I think 22 authors launched their books, or maybe 14 authors launched their books at that time. And then 2017, more and more students were able to write their books. So we had book launch 3.0 in July 2017. September 2017, we had another book launch. So same year, we had another book launch because a lot of them wrote their books. And in 2018, I had a dilemma. My dilemma is that there were so many authors who were able to write their books. And that was a problem for me. Because the space that I would usually rent, could accommodate 170 people. And now there are so many of them, they cannot fit anymore in that room. So I figured we have to level up. So we were doing the book launches, book launch 1, 2, 3, 4. And then since most of my students are Filipinos, I decided to put up an event in 2018 called Filipino Authors Summit. But then I realized many of the students of my course would come from Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, South Korea, Japan, etc., etc., in all these countries, US, Ireland, etc. Although most of them are Filipinos, they would fly back to Manila to attend their book launch. And since many of them also publish on Amazon, because I teach them how to publish on Amazon, they actually cater to a global audience. So inspired by James Taylor, who founded the International Speakers Summit, International Authors Summit, and me, I founded the HR Summit Global, an online summit as well, I decided to put up the Global Authors Summit. So, yes, so it's a live event. It's a live event wherein we teach about writing books, and then this is also a venue wherein the graduates of the 90-day book writing challenge could launch their books. In a few weeks after we launched this, tickets were sold out. And we had to turn down around 100 people because they can no longer fit in the venue that we rented. The venue could fit about 300 to 350 people, and the sign-ups were about 400 plus. And our problem as organizers then was, we hope not all of them would come. Why? Because there is a very strict policy in the venue that they can only fit 350 max or 320 max. So we were really hoping that not all of them would come. Because when you organize events, you need to put a 20% buffer because about 20% don't show up. But the problem is, what if they showed up? Okay, so we had the Global Authors Summit, and we had speakers from Hong Kong, from Singapore, from India, from Canada, who came also to speak. So the first ever Global Authors Summit, I'm very proud to say, happened in the Philippines, and two of the speakers are Indians. Okay, so India has a very soft spot in my heart. And I'd like to show you the video highlights from the event, okay? All right, so let's play the video.
Write and publish a book.
My very bold claim is this: I can teach you how you can write a book in 90 days, even if you're not a writer, and even if you're busy in your job or business. If you can write a sentence that can be understood by the other person, then you can write a book. A paragraph is just a series of sentences. A chapter is just a series of paragraphs. And a book is just a series of chapters. Will my book inspire someone? Will my book bless someone? Will my book solve someone else's problem? And if the answer is yes to any or all of the questions that I mentioned here, then you should write a book. And this is the reason why we are here today. We are here to celebrate the authors, and we are here as well to celebrate your future success. And would like to welcome the graduates of the 90-day book writing challenge who will launch their books at the first ever Global Authors Summit.
Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. Are you all excited?
Hello, Philippines! All right, you guys are such an exciting crowd. I'm so happy to be here. When I wanted to be an author, I knew it would change my life because I've seen so many other people tell me that, look, how many people do you know does not matter. How many people knows you? That's what matters. If you're doing a book launch and people don't know about it, it's like having the cure for cancer, but nobody knows about it. As an author, for all the authors,
Write a book for every stage of my life. Not to give glory to myself, but to give glory to God. Writing is my ministry.
Do something today that your future self will thank you for. One day, when you do something now, you're going to smile.
Right. So that was the first ever Global Authors Summit, and we had around 350 people in attendance. And this year, we're having again the Global Authors Summit, and we're targeting about 800 people. We've actually paid for the venue already. So we have to make it happen, right? So this is what I do. Aside from writing books, I give talks to companies, and then I organize events like this. Who among you here are organizers of PSS? Okay, can we give a hand to them? You know how challenging it is to organize an event, right? Yes. And imagine if you want to do so many things. I have a team of 4 people. And we were the one who organized that event. 4 people organized that event. So what am I saying is, there are so many things that you want to do, and one of the things that you want to kind of outsource is marketing, then one of the best ways you can do is to write a book, because when you write a book, it's like you hired marketers for you that will work for you 24/7, 365 days a year, without sick leave, without any complaints, and without you having to pay them. And those are actually your books. Okay? So now, are you convinced that writing a book is so powerful? I think I didn't do a good job. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So now I'm going to teach you how you can write a book in 90 days, even if you're not a writer. Okay. By the way, I have a gift for you. So all of you will get copies of my ebooks, the 3 ebooks that I mentioned. But in addition, I'd like to do something more. I have this online course, the 90-Day Book Writing Challenge, and right now the registration is open. We're selling at about 35,000 Indian rupees, and one of you here could get an access to that, could get a scholarship to that, lifetime access. And when you finish your book, you could launch your book at the Global Authors Summit. How does that sound to you? Okay, so all you need to do is, who among you here are on Instagram? All right, how about Facebook? Okay, we have internet access here in the Park Hotels. So you can go online, and at any point during this discussion, you can take a photo of yourself, a photo of me, a photo of any of the audience. And before my talk ends, just post something online. You may tag me, you may follow me. All right? Already done. Make sure that you're on public so I could see you. And please use the hashtag PSS2019 and hashtag ShaPSS2019. And at the end of my talk, great. At the end of my talk,
Will you also consider Twitter?
Twitter,
Because I'm not in these 2 platforms.
okay, we can also consider Twitter because I have Twitter as well. Okay, good. And then at the end of my talk, I'll randomly choose a winner. Of course, you don't just put a picture. You can write something, a caption as well. So we'll choose the best caption, the best picture, and I'll randomly choose. Okay, I'll randomly choose, and the winner will have access to the 90-Day Book Writing Challenge online course. Is that a good deal? Yeah. Okay.
Can I know your Insta ID?
Sha_Nacino. So there's my ID. So you may follow me. And then make sure that your profile is in public so I can see your posts.
I can't find you with Sha_Nacino.
So this is my handler, Sha_Nacino on Instagram. Okay? Is that a good deal? So make sure you get the right hashtags, hashtag PSS 2019 and hashtag Sha PSS 2019. Yes, yes, please. Thank you. Okay, so we can now continue. Okay, how about let's all stand up just to pump the energy because now I'm going to teach you the secret to writing a book in 90 days. All right, can I invite everyone to just raise your hands and just think of your goals as a speaker? What is your number one goal this year as a speaker? Maybe to get X number of speaking gigs, maybe to get X amount per talk, or maybe to get this particular company, whatever that is. And then look at the person to your left and right. Okay, look at the person to your left and right. These are the people who will help you make that goal come true. And can you try to reach the floor? Reach the floor. That's a reminder that no matter how successful you will get, you'll always keep your feet firmly planted on the ground, okay? And can you give yourselves a round of applause? Thank you for being here. You may now take your seats. Okay. So lifetime access, the actual value in rupee is 35,996. So, mindset. Who among you here have doubts about writing a book? Have hesitations? All right. What are those hesitations? Maybe just shout one or two. Yes.
How do I structure my book?
Okay. We can answer that.
What I write be interesting to read.
Okay. Great question. Yes.
Too many thoughts, don't know what to write down.
All right, great. So the two questions you ask can be answered in the actual course and in and also in what I'll teach later. And ma'am, the question you ask, it's a mindset question. So do you have any of these hesitations? Who am I? Why would people listen to me? Right? Will my book be interesting to the other person? So those are the wrong questions that you need to ask yourself. The right questions you don't have to ask yourself, who am I? Why would people listen to me? You don't have to question yourself. Because no matter who you are, no matter what your background is, you have a unique story that you can share. Even if you're a janitor, there is a unique story that perhaps you can share, and then you can write a book. I attended the session of Sir yesterday. Can we give him a hand? All right. And one of the things that I learned from him is that who do you love? Who is the person that you love the most? You, right, yourself. So, I didn't know that. I thought my family and my family is the person I love the most. And then it really struck me because the person that you need to love the most is yourself. So see, there is something I can learn from him. There is something I can learn from you. There is something I can learn from you that I cannot learn from anyone else. There is something that you can say that would speak so loudly to a particular crowd than if it were me who would say it, than if it were another person who would say it. So there is a crowd for you. Okay? So these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. Will my book inspire someone? Will my book solve someone else's problem? Will my book give answers or solutions to a particular scenario, etc.? It's all about, so if you see, what is the difference between the other questions? Who am I? Why would people listen to me? The focus is where? In yourself, right? But when you say, will my book solve someone else's problem? Will my book give value? Will my book inspire someone? Where is the focus? To the other person. Okay? So the focus should be, what can your book do? Can it solve a problem? Can it give solution to a problem, etc.? So this is like what I said. You have a unique story that only you can share that could inspire someone, and that story is your gift to yourself. So this is my tip. When you write a book, don't write too much concepts, too much content. Put stories in the book. Weave the entire book into a story. Because when you read a book in story, you really you open the minds of your readers, you open their hearts. If it's purely content, you bore them. So your goal is, how can you make the person start reading your book and that person cannot put down the book? Yes, sir.
I wrote my first book. I wrote a sentence and I
Wow.
And no theory.
No theories.
And second thing I did was that I was writing this book focused on the youth. I started writing the language they understand. So I used things like figure out, chill, and all that. You know, if I write my language, they won't read it.
Correct.
And I tell you, most people said that sir, when we read your book, it looks like you're talking to us.
Right.
Sir, that is what you're saying, and that's the absolute fact.
Exactly.
If you can make your book feel that you're talking to them.
Yes. Your purpose for writing a book is not to impress them that, hey, look at me, I'm so good at writing. Your purpose for writing a book is so that they can see themselves in the pages of the book. Okay? They would see that this author understands me. So you don't talk down to your readers. Example, you know something so much about this particular topic, you don't look down on them and, hey, I'm a guru and I'm teaching you. The best way to write a book is I'm holding your hand. We're in this together. I'm your friend. Let's go. Let's go. Something like that. Okay? If you have bloopers, if you have mistakes, you share that in your book so they could identify with you. They could say that if she or he can do it, I can do it as well. Right? So the three keys that every author must have. If you want to write a book, there are three things you need to have. First is you need to have a compelling message that you would like to share. You don't write a book because you want to become an author, because you want to become famous, because you want to get all these speaking engagements, because you want to get money, you want to get fame. All those are consequences or effects of having a book. But you have to have the right mindset. Why do you want to write a book? It's because there is a message that is burning within you that you would like to let out, you would like to share. So start with the message, okay? Next is the passion to share the message. So these are the books that changed my life. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. At first, all I knew was if you want to make more money, you need to work hard, work long hours, etc., etc. And then I learned the concept of passive income, and I said, "Wow! So I can do that. I can relax. I can go on vacation and still make money." So it was a total change in mindset. And my book, My Maid Invest in the Stock Market by my mentor, Bo Sanchez. So I learned how to invest in the stock market. And I was able to make my dream of going to Europe come true because of my stocks investments, etc. So these are the things that you can actually do. And if I didn't read these books, I wouldn't have quit my job and pursue my passions. I wouldn't have written books. I wouldn't have taught people how to write books. Okay? So their message was so important, they actually changed my life and the lives of so many people. The second is the passion to share the message. How passionate are you to share that message with people? Because writing a book, although it's simple, like what I said, if you can write a sentence, you can write a book, it is simple, but writing a book takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of courage, perseverance, etc. because life happens, you get busy, etc. So how passionate are you to get your message across through your book? And the last one is you have to have a systematic way of writing a book. Once you have this systematic way of writing a book, you can write a book in 90 days, in 1 month, in 1 week, in 1 day. It's up to you. So let me now give you a case study. This was the first ever book I wrote, Think Rich Yappies, and it took me 3 years to write the book. Because I didn't know anything about writing a book. What I did then was I went to National Bookstore, the biggest bookstore in the Philippines. I looked for the best-selling books. I zoomed in on one author. I bought all his books. I read all his books once, twice, 3 times. I studied how was the title, how thick was the book, how was the sentence construction, how was the paragraph, etc., etc. So I wrote a book with that in mind. I dissected how he wrote his book. And after that, I asked, so what's next? So I went to a friend who was good in English. I asked her to edit my book. And the first thing she said was, Sha, you sounded like Bo Sanchez, like my mentor. And then she said, revise. Revise. So it took me about 1-2 years to write that book. And she just said, revise. Okay? So I had to revise the book, etc., etc. And when I learned the art of writing a book, the systematic way of writing a book, it took me 3 weeks, 1 day to actually write the book, and then 3 weeks all in all to publish the book online. So see, 3 years versus 3 weeks, and the only difference was that I had the systematic way of writing a book. which I created. So like what I said, I believe that everything is a formula. Even if writing is on the creative side, there is a formula for it. Okay? And then these were the ebooks I published within 6 months while working full-time for a bank. And I had my other social civic activities, plus I had Toastmasters, wherein I was very active. I wrote and published 4 ebooks in a span of 6 months. So if I can do it, and I was not a writer, I didn't like to write, definitely you can do it as well. And I am spilling to you my secrets. So again, these are the 3 things every author must have: message, passion, and system. And now I'm going to teach you, sure, I'm going to teach you the 5-step process on writing a book. Are you excited?
Yes.
I don't think there's much excitement. Okay, yes, okay. So I'm also very excited because it's very simple. One of the things I love to do is when I teach, I want it to be very simple so you would understand, you won't get overwhelmed. And this is also the reason why I love being part of Speakers U with James Taylor, because he teaches in a very systematic way. In fact, when he spoke at the Asia Professional Speakers Convention in Singapore, he spoke for about 60 minutes on how to run an online summit. 60 minutes. Okay, and after his, or maybe less, I forgot now. And then after his talk, I was able to run my own summit. So it means that, by the way, James is here. Can we give a hand to James? Thank you, James, for being here. So anyway, what I'm saying is, I can teach a very systematic way of writing a book, very, very simple. Even a 9-year-old can do it. And of course, I'm in the room of very smart people and very humble people as well. I'm really, really honored to be speaking in front of you. And now I'm going to spill the beans. So 5-step process on how to write a book. So you have to write this down, okay? The first step is to select a topic. So what topic would you like to speak on? It could be on money management, it could be on service, it could be on professionalism, it could be on anything. Okay, so these are the topics gallery that you can choose from. Passion, so what is your passion? And can you speak about your passion? What is your purpose? Business, what is your business? Can you talk about your business? What is the topic that you always deliver when you give talks? You can talk about that. Pains and problems. What are the pains and problems of the people around you that you have answers to? You can talk about that. You can talk about your adventures and experiences. And you can talk about people's concerns. Okay? So, pains and problems. Sure. My problem then was I got buried in credit card debts. And my first book was about how to zero out credit card debts. Because when I learned how to zero out credit card debts, I figured if I teach you what I know, you can zero out your credit card debts in 18 months or 12 months versus me, 3 years. Because my goal is that whenever I teach something, my students should get much, much better results than what I got trying to figure out the answers. Okay? So Think Rich Yappies, that's my first book. It's all about how to zero out credit card debts. And maybe some of you are asking, I'm not yet an expert. Why should I write a book on this topic? You don't have to be a super expert to write a book on that topic. If there are 10 steps in the ladder and you're on step 1, you can already write a book on that because you want to teach people who are on step 0 get to step 1. You don't have to reach step 10, okay? And then once you're on step 2, you look back, teach the people on step 2 to get step 1 to get to step 2, and so on, and so on, and so forth. Okay? And then another case is that people's concerns. I remembered I was with my friends. We were talking over Macdo Sunday. And my friend was asking me, Sha, I work in the call center and I have this staff. She's been working for 7 years already. And she asked me, where did her money go? Because she was working for 7 years and yet she had no savings. So my friend looked me in the eye and asked, Sha, where did her money go? And I wanted to say, how would I know? I don't even know your staff. Okay, but I found wisdom in that question. So I decided to answer it by writing a book, Who Took My Money? So the original title of the book was Who Took My Money? And after I wrote the book, after I had the book cover, I Googled Who Took My Money? And it's already taken. And you know who the author was? Robert Kiyosaki. So I said, wow, great minds think alike. And so I just put hard earned money. Okay? And then the next one is that one time, yes, sir.
I wish I heard this before I wrote my book. I made a mistake. I wrote this book called Design Your Life. And it got published. It is there outside. When I discovered later that there are 5 more books with the same title. On it.
Yes, and that's okay because you know what? The book title has no copyright. You can actually choose the same title and it's perfectly okay. Okay?
Have the trademark. If they have the trademark.
If there is a trademark, you cannot use.
I have interesting question.
Yes.
See, when it comes to writing, how do you curtail plagiarism?
Okay, how do you, yes, that's a very good question because actually anybody could get your content and then
Say, for
write
example,
another book, right?
I gave my content to a publisher.
Yes.
As a publisher, he will have contacts to so many people, already authors and these things. He may say, hey, see, there is some good content here. Why can't you copy this and you put your title and come out? How to?
Okay, how to avoid plagiarism? You cannot. Because you cannot control other people from copying what you want. But the best news is the way to make your content original is by telling stories. You put a context behind the content because truth be told, everything that you're going to write, someone has written that already. I write a book on money and someone already said, pay yourself first, you need to save first, you need to invest first, etc. etc. Someone already said that. But what makes my book, your book unique is your stories, the context. Who are you talking to? Where are you coming from? So you write stories. Yes.
Legal problem that an author can get into?
Legal?
Yeah, plagiarism.
Of course we should not plagiarize, right?
We should not, but any other.
Yeah.
When you copy
We should
from
not
one person-
plagiarize.
When you copy from one person is called plagiarism. When you copy from multiple people it's called research.
Yes, that's correct. That's what they say. Right? Yes, that's correct. So actually, you cannot really control what other people would do with your content. They could get idea from you. They could tweak it, and that's called innovation, right? So you cannot really control that. But what you can control is your personality, your voice, your style, how people like you, the way you come off with other people, how authentic are you, etc. Okay. Second is to define your thesis statement. So the first is about topic. Second is to define your thesis statement. Topic is general. Thesis statement is very specific. Thesis statement. In college, we had thesis, right? So this was the first time that this was the first thing that my editor friend, actually she was not an editor, she was good in English, she's a friend in college, she asked me, Sha, okay, what is your thesis statement? And I said, Clyde, come on, we're done with college. Thesis again. And then she said, no, what I mean is, in one sentence, what is your book all about? Okay? And so I said, oh, my book is about money and it's about blah, 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 blah. So I said so many things and she said, Sha, in one sentence. Okay, clarify what your thesis statement and let's talk again. My friend was very strict. Okay, so I had to, she was very strict.
You have a good friend to do all this.
Right, right. What I liked about my friend is we can disagree, but we're still friends. So I went back to her after 1 week and then I said, Clyde, this is my thesis statement. And then she went to my manuscript and right in front of me, she said, this chapter has no place here in your book because it's not related to your thesis statement, delete. But it took me 1 week to write that, delete. Delete, 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 delete. She deleted 22 chapters from my 32 chapters book just because those chapters were not related to the thesis statement. So see, that was the mistake I had. So now, when you write a book, think of your topic first, general, and then go specific. in one sentence, if someone would ask you, what is your book all about? You should be able to answer it in one sentence. So my book technically is...
Have this thesis statement for this book.
Yes. So this is my this is my book, Think Rich Yappies, and my thesis statement then was how to overcome credit card debts. So it's about money, right? But specifically how to overcome credit card debts. So another thesis statement is, so that's Money and Me. My book is about money and me, so it's about money, right? But my thesis statement is 9 steps to turn around your finances and live the life you want. 9 steps. So step 1, so they're expecting there are 9 steps that I need to teach. And the third step that you can do is to create a mind map. Who among you uses an outline? Outline is good, but outline kind of restricts your creative juices because it's linear. But with the mind map, it can go in all directions, and it's very easy to create a mind map. All you need to do is get one piece of paper. It could be a band paper. And in the middle, write your topic or the title of your book, and then write your thesis statement, and then you branch out. Let me give you an example. For example, if my book is about how to be happy, there are 2 types of happiness, right? It could be fleeting happiness or temporary. It could be lasting happiness. So under fleeting happiness, what are the things I can do? Watch funny movies, play your favorite sport, eat ice cream. And under play your favorite sport, you branch it out, badminton, swimming, etc. Under lasting happiness, it could be find your purpose, and then you can branch it out. What is your passion? Where do you excel? And then it could be about gratitude. Count your blessings, gratitude journal, etc. Keep learning and growing, etc. So here's the beauty of it. So how do you now organize your thoughts? Okay, before you even write anything about your book, create this first. This is like your blueprint. Okay? And think of stories that could support. For example, watch funny movies. What particular story do I have about watching funny movies that made me happy? And who was I with? What is that story? What is the gain from that story? And now these become your chapters. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As easy as that. As simple as that.
So the lasting happiness and fleeting happiness won't be considered as the chapter.
Yes, could be part 1 is fleeting happiness. Part 2 is lasting happiness. It's up to you. Yes. So this is how easy it is to write a book. So if your concern is how do you structure, how do you make sure that you are able to organize your thoughts, you can do this. So before you even write anything, you do this first. Think of a particular story, a particular example to support your point, etc. Who among you here again are Toastmasters? Okay, you talk to them because Toastmasters really influenced my writing style. Why? Because in Toastmasters, we have the table topics. It's called impromptu speaking. And in impromptu speaking, there are techniques. For example, prep or position, reason, example, point. There's what we call SMG or story, message, gain. In the same way, when you write your book, you can use prep or position, reason, example, point. For example, watch funny movies. So my position is by watching funny movies, you can be happy. So that's a position, right? Reason is because when you watch funny movies, you laugh and you release these happy hormones called blah, 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 blah. Example, last Saturday, I went to this blah, blah, blah. And so go back to your position. And therefore, I conclude that watching funny movies will make you happy. So see? So when you're stuck, choose any from these patterns, the SMG, story, message, gain, and then prep, or any other guidelines. So Toastmasters can help you do that. Okay?
What's the P in prep? Point.
Position or point.
PREP.
Yes. Point, reason,
P is
example, point.
point.
Yes.
Again.
Yes, point again. And then you can actually combine. So in your chapter, you can combine prep, you can combine SMG, you can combine any of these. All right? Example, and then point. And then next is, step number 4 is to start writing and just keep on writing. One of the mistakes that we make when we write a book is that we write and edit at the same time. We write something and We critic ourselves, oh, this is not good, and then we get discouraged. No, 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 no. When you write, don't edit at the same time. You know, the purpose of writing is not to write a masterpiece. The purpose of writing is so that you can unload everything that you want to write. Don't edit, don't critic. The purpose is just to unload everything. Until you come to a point wherein you ask yourself, is there anything else I would like to share? And if the answer is no, I've already unloaded everything. Then you're done with the writing part. Now, the last part is you edit, and you edit without mercy. So, even if you wrote that particular chapter for 20 days, for 1 year, for 2 years, if it's not related, delete it. Okay? Don't take it personally. You edit without mercy. Because the purpose of editing is, when you edit, you ask yourself, is there anything else I need to take away? Remember clarity? So Sir mentioned about clarity. There should be no ambiguity. You remove all the clutter. You KonMari your book. You know Marie Kondo? Okay, you KonMari your book. You delete everything that needs to be deleted. No clutter. It's your message is so crystal clear. Okay, and don't take it personally. If you delete a particular chapter, write it in your blog or publish it in your email newsletter. Okay? Yes. Yes, summarize the 5. First is to select a topic. Okay. Next is to define your thesis statement. 3 is to create a mind map. 4 is to start writing and don't edit, keep writing. And the last part is to edit without mercy. Now let's watch this video.
Chia.
Take a picture. Okay. So are you happy now? Okay, one last.
Mm, หวานนะพี่
เหรอ
อืม
All right. Cheers. So, can I invite everyone again to please stand up? Let's just celebrate. Did you learn a lot today? Okay. So, can we just stretch out again our hands? Think about the book that you would like to write, and just thank yourself, thank everyone who helped you or inspired you to write that book. And just look at the person beside you again and tell that person, hello, best-selling author. And can you give yourselves a hand? Thank you very much.